If you are struggling in your business, it may be time to pivot. Let me share with you how I figured it out, and I'm hoping these tips will help you too. I am Georgie Howie. I am a construction business owner who helps women in the construction industry build profitable businesses using strategic partnerships, business certifications, and a winning mindset. A few years ago, back in 2022, I decided to pivot. I'm talking about big pivot. I pivoted from one career of being a social worker for the last 17, 18 years, working in private practice, working for government agencies, and I pivoted into starting a construction business. I'm not saying that your pivot has to be this big. I'm just here to share with you the things that really worked for me in this pivot. And I'm here to share my story and give some insights because I think it would be helpful to you to figure out if it's time for you to pivot. One of the things that really stuck with me in terms of knowing it was time to do something else is I wasn't feeling stuck. I was not excited about the work anymore. I wasn't really excited about my clients anymore. I love them. There were some that I really love, but I wasn't excited about the work itself. When you're doing social work or therapy or coaching, it's like something about as soon as you get on the phone, it feels like go time, like action, let's go. And for me, I was losing that zeal, the zest for the work itself. It felt very stale. It felt like regardless of the trainings I would do or the things I would really incorporate or the new things I would try, it just felt like I kept hitting like a wall, or there was no growth within myself or my ability to really see these challenges. I kind of figured people out really quickly and I knew how to support them very well. But for me, the side of fulfillment that I used to get from the work, it was kind of missing. And I knew, although it was very challenging to accept in the beginning, I knew there was something I had to do different. And I wasn't ready to just be like, I'm not going to do anything about this. I kind of sat with it. Once I acknowledged that there's something had to change, I was able to sit with that in the beginning. And that was for me in terms of the idea to the actual change. The first thing I did was the acknowledgement of something had to be different. And the acknowledgement that I was disconnected from the work and there was no amount of training, mindset, vacations, time off that was really going to change me from it. Because at first I thought, well, maybe I'm burnt out. And I know about burnout and I know what that feels like. And this doesn't feel like burnout. This feels like this is it for me. I've reached my pinnacle of success in this field and I'm done. And when I finally acknowledged and accepted that, it was like a freeing moment, a moment of full gratitude and gratefulness that I could say that to myself and say it, share with others, and it be accepted that I wasn't going crazy because I no longer fell into the work and it was no longer exciting. It was a sense or resounding for me comfort, and that it is okay to change your mind about something and to do something differently. And social work itself is being a therapist is a very taxing field on your emotional well-being, your psychological well-being, your physical well-being. It is taxing. And I've always said or seen people, I'm not going to do this forever. I know I'm going to have a second career. And when I finally decided to acknowledge that's what I wanted, I remember myself saying that years ago because I knew how just strenuous this work could be. And so those were the highlights in terms of what I was feeling in my body and my experiences, like the resistance. I was feeling stressed. I was feeling unengaged. I was feeling less excitement. I wasn't feeling like there was more for me to learn. Those were the signs for me that I knew how to reach my end. And so when you're thinking or if you're considering a pivot, you may be at your end of the career or you just may be at the end of what has been working in the business. And so the first thing you can do is really to accept and acknowledge that you're there and to not be judgmental about where you are, but really just be supportive and encouraging and compassionate with yourself that you're there and understanding of how you got there without judgment. I would say understanding how you got to that point without judgment, so that when you're deciding to take the next couple steps, you're very clear about what created or what got you to this point. And again, not from a place of judgment, but from purely just understanding. The next piece I would think and consider that really helped me was to do a slow transition from one to the other. And when I say slow, is because I was slow to just pivot to the next thing. And that I just took time to really process, one, what I was feeling, what I was thinking, what I wanted, and what I was willing to do about it. And once I laid that out in terms of a plan and I was committed, I really took that to God and I prayed about it. And I got a lot of confirmations in a lot of different ways. And so when I started the business, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to just quit my practice and I'm going to stop seeing people and I'm going to stop creating and generating revenue. I'm quit my job. I didn't do that. I let it be a slow transition. And that I took the time needed to maintain myself and my life and my lifestyle while I built this other thing within what I was doing to really dig into and lean into this new idea and this new business I was starting. And so while I was pivoting or decided to pivot, I just didn't put myself under pressure and decide to just quit everything that sustained my life. I did it slowly in a more thoughtful, planned, strategic way. The more I took the time to really focus and lean into that, is the more I realized I was really excited about this and it was something I really wanted to do. I really realized I like this. I'm not burned out and I'm not losing my mind and I'm not crazy for stopping a business because it's not necessarily failing, but it's not what I want to do. That this is exciting and I can be excited about work and it can be something that I look forward to doing and it can be something that's satisfying and fulfilling, right? I was able to see that there was nothing necessarily wrong with me. It was just time. And so give yourself the space and the time to make the transition. And give yourself the space and the time so that you're not depending on the success of this to depend or determine the success or the sustainability in your life. Because that is a pressure that you do not want to have when you're starting a new business. Is going and starting a business and now you're worried about, you quit all this over here, your money makers, and now you're worried about food, your basic necessities, worried about shelter, you're worried about what am I going to do, how I'm going to keep this, when my next check is going to come. All of that energy will keep you sort of in the draining, sort of bogged down energy. And so if you take the time to properly transition and plan, you're going to see a lot of different ways of being and existing, and you're going to get a lot of momentum from that will really excel you as you're making this grand pivot. The other piece I decided to do when pivoting is I decided not to be so worried about what people would think. And I know we like to think that we're tough people and we don't care what people think. And I don't care what they have to say, but in reality, we do. A lot of times we don't do stuff because we're fearful of judgment and rejection and being judged and what people are going to say. And so I really had to be mindful of, one, who I shared with, and two, when I decided to tell people what I was doing, and three, being very mindful that I don't have to tell anyone anything. I owed it to my former customers and my former people I was working with to inform them properly of my transition. But in terms of people who are outside of my clientele or the people I work with or the people that I show up for, I don't have to tell nobody or explain myself. And if you can get out of that sort of posture of you owe people an explanation of why you're changing, you don't. And you don't have to. And it took me 3 years before I explained to people. And some people still don't know. Not that I'm being secretive or have something to hide. It's just that everybody's not going to understand it. Because the first reaction I get is, you're in construction? But people don't know my life. They don't know my story. They don't know that I've invested in real estate, that I've done construction, that I work with construction partners, that I work with GCs, that my godfather has been a GC for 30 years and I've been on his projects and I've learned things from him. They don't know my past or my history or my passions. And so for the people who were judgmental or questioning, I realized that they didn't know and understand me. Because if you knew and understand me, then you'll be like, oh, that makes sense. I can see that. But how's it going to work? That question I can answer, right? And I can respond to it. But I really got out of just caring about what other people had to say. And so if you're going to do this, be willing to do it and not really give a about what people got to say. And so when you're thinking about making the transition and you're doing it, just test things out. And one of the things I see with people is I see a lot of people starting new jobs, not businesses. Sorry to say it. But you're taking on a new job, not an actual business. So you got to think about yourself as And there's the ones that I was a wantrepreneur before I was an entrepreneur. You gotta think about, and what I'm creating, is it really a business, right? And when I say business, is it service-based or product-based, right? Or is it just another job I'm creating for myself? And I'll give you an example of something I heard someone discussing, is that a woman who does hair decided that she wants to start doing hair, and she wants to do hair for people. She wanted to quit her job and start doing hair. Well, because you're the person that does the hair, the only way you get paid is by you doing the work. If you have nothing else, the only way you get paid is by you doing the work. So you essentially quit one job to start another job that now you're claiming as a business, but there's no other business outside of you doing the work. And so what happens is, in order for her to expand that, is what if instead of her just doing hair, she taught people how to do hair. And then she showed them how to build a hair business, because now she's done it. And then she took that and she grew that and showed them how to automate certain processes within the hair industry. And people paid her for her expertise, right? And they paid her for her information that she shared and provided. And she was able to scale that. Instead of me doing one head, I can teach 10 people the one-to-many concept. And so, and I can also get help or hire someone within my business now to support me in creating additional support or products for these people. So I'm also providing not only a service, but I'm providing a product. And so for me, my business is a service-based business, but I'm not required to do the work itself. I hire people to do the work. We provide a service. We build a house. We renovate a house. We put in your floors. We change our windows. We do the work, but it's a service that we're providing. But I can teach people how to provide the service for me in my organization. And so I didn't create a job, I created a business. And so when you're pivoting, look at what are you really taking on? And it is an industry that really has the potential to grow. Not what you see people doing online, right? Not what you hear about people, oh, this was my success. I was able to make $1 million in this, so I'm going to teach you to make $1 million. How? What else do they have to show you besides that they did it for themselves? Did they do it for anybody else? And if so, what things were different, or what is aligned with what you're already doing? And so pivots are instrumental and are important for you to do. But to plan and to be ready for that pivot is also important. And to plan and be ready to be in an industry that supports the pivot is also important. Pick an industry that's going to make you money. And it's going to allow you to be in alignment with serving people the way you want to serve them. And you may have to do a little bit more research than what's out there on the internet or what you hear people, these overnight success people say they're doing. When I think about the construction industry, there's thousands of things you can do within the construction industry. You could do drywall, you could do painting, and these are all the trades. You could do land development, you can do development consulting, you could do zoning, you can do permit running, right? You could do trash dumps, right? Picking up trash, cleaning out. You could do cleanup, janitorial services. You could do pickups. You could do deliveries. You could be a runner. You can do pricing and estimating. You want me to keep going? There's so many things in construction, and that's why I picked the industry I picked. There's so many things where I could build something, create a product or service, build it, maximize it, and sell it to many. And so as you're thinking about your pivot, think about the concepts and the things that you are creating that are really streamlined and aligned with who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world, but also creating value in other people's life. Do it so that it has an impact, not only in your life, but the lives of others. So again, if you're just thinking about pivoting, take a look at this video, take some notes, come back to it, give yourself some space, acknowledge where you are, be okay with hearing the naysayers saying what you can do. Be okay with the judgment from others. Be okay not understanding. But if you feel it, if there's something in you that's saying this ain't it, then lean into that feeling and do something and respond to yourself. You owe it to yourself to explore the possibilities of what could be. And so if you decided to do that, or you're looking forward to do that, leave me a comment. I want to hear what are the things you're considering pivoting to. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what's working, what's not working. And remember, let's build something great together.